Welcome to the YouTube channel of Legally Trust. This video is one of the series of educational videos that will be available on this channel under the category General Awareness.
Hello friends, in today's video we will be learning about strict liability. In this video you will have three subparts. The first, we will be talking about Rylance versus Fletcher's. Second, we will be understanding what is strict liability. Third, we will be looking at the exceptions to strict liability. So first, let's understand the whole case of Rylance versus Fletcher's, from where the concept of strict liability arose. In Rylance versus Fletcher's, there was a person called Ryland and he was constructing a water reservoir in his land. For this, he hired independent contractors. These independent contractors just had to get the work done and they would choose their own method of doing the work. While doing the work, they failed to notice that there existed many old shafts while digging up the whole reservoir, and because they failed to notice the old shafts, they were not able to cover up the old shafts and reinforce them. So when the reservoir was filled with water, the shafts ended up breaking, and this led to the reservoir breaking up and flooding the other person's land. Now the other person's land which was flooded belonged to Fletcher's. Fletcher's sued Ryland for negligence. Now when it went to court, the court held that Rylance could not be sued for negligence because it belonged to independent contractors, but the whole concept of strict liability arose from this case. Now what is strict liability? A strict liability is a rule which holds a person liable for harm even if the harm was unintentional or there was no negligence on the person's behalf. The strict liability rule lays out as follows. If a person brings anything to their land which is likely to do mischief if it escapes, they will be liable for the damage caused by it. Now there are three main ingredients for strict liability. The first is bringing an hazardous object. By hazardous object, we mean an object which is likely to cause mischief to another person. Second is the object escaping. The whole concept of escaping is very important when we look at the scope of strict liability. The scope of strict liability has extended to cases of escaping of electricity, escaping of fire, escaping of fumes, which is why the whole concept of escaping is extremely important. Third is the non-natural use of land. Now the usage of their object in the land must be non-natural. If a person is growing trees in the land, there's nothing wrong with it. But if the person is growing poisonous berries in their land and this escapes from their land and is consumed by someone else, then this amounts to strict liability. Let's look at the exceptions of strict liability, which is the defenses which can be used to not be held liable in strict liability. The first is consent of plaintiff. If the plaintiff has consented to accumulating the dangerous thing on the defendant's land, then strict liability does not hold good. In the case of Peters versus Prince of Wales Theatres, the plaintiff took a lease of a theatre which was fixed with pipes which had running water in them in case of a fire. Now due to the winter season, there was frost in the pipes and the pipes leaked, and this leakage of water ended up damaging the property of the plaintiff. The plaintiff sued the defendant, but the court did not hold the defendant strictly liable. Why? Because when the plaintiff bought the theatre, he had consented to the pipes which had fixed with running water in them. Because the plaintiff had consented to accumulating of the dangerous thing, then strict liability does not hold good. Second is common benefit. Now consent of accumulation of a dangerous thing on a defendant's land is implied when there is common benefit for both the plaintiff and the defendant. In the case Castor versus Taylor, there was one A and one B. B lived in the first floor while A lived in the ground floor. Water from the roof was collected in a box and this water was discarded in the house through a pipe. Now there was a rat which ended up gnawing on the box and this led to water being leaked from the reservoir and this ended up damaging the goods of A. Because of this, A went and sued B. But the court held that B was not liable as this system which was set up was held for common benefit. Hence, strict liability does not hold good. Third is the act of strangers or act of third party. Any harm which is caused by a stranger or a third party which is not the plaintiff or the defendant or the defendant's servant or his agent does not hold good for strict liability. In the case of Richard versus Lothium, a stranger deliberately blocked a waste pipe of a lavatory in the premises of the defendant. This caused flooding in the premises of the plaintiff. The court held that strict liability does not hold good over here because the act done which caused damage was by a third party or a stranger. Next, we have act of God, which is another exception to strict liability. When the escape of the dangerous object happens due to an unforeseen circumstance or supernatural forces without human intervention, it is called to be an act of God. A necessity over here is that the damage can't be avoided in spite of reasonable care being taken by the defendant. Next, we have statutory authority, an act which is done under an authority of the statute or law which is made by the parliament or state is called statutory authority. These receive exemptions from strict liability. In the case of Green versus Chelsea Waterworks Company, the parliament had authorized the waterworks company to lay pipes, yet these pipes burst out, causing the plaintiff's premises to be flooded with water. But the company was not held to be liable because the work they had done was authorized by the parliament or was the work done due to a statutory authority. Finally, we come to the last exception, which is the default of a plaintiff. When the damage which is caused or the escape which has happened is due to the plaintiff's fault, the plaintiff cannot hold the defendant liable, or the court does not hold the defendant strictly liable. We see this in the example of if a plaintiff goes to a zoo and tries to incite an animal such as a chimpanzee or a lion, and then the lion attacks the plaintiff cannot plead for the zoo to be held strictly liable because the damage which was caused was due to the plaintiff's conduct. We hope this video was informative and you understood a lot more about strict liability. Thank you for watching.
Hope the information contained in this video was useful to you. We look forward to each one of your support and cooperation in making this initiative a success. For more details about the trust, do visit us at www.legalaidtrust.in. Kindly subscribe this channel and click on the bell icon to get the latest updates about various law-related educational videos. Thank you for watching us and have a good day.